Hippity uppity hey everybody, welcome back to another video. Today I'd like to share with you some quick and easy tips to make your builds better. This isn't like those clickbaity builds that just show you little stupid things that you can do. These, I personally think, are 3 things that helped me and my friends get 10 times better at building. And this video is especially helpful for people that just don't know how to build, or people that are just new to the game. See, the first tip we have is just look at what you make already. This is my little house right here. It's made of entirely stone bricks. It's a solid block, in more than one way. And the problem is that it's just purely stone brick. It's very flat. It's very two-dimensional. It doesn't have a lot going for it. Look at the wall in your room right now, or wherever you're at right now. Look at that. And imagine if that was the floor, or the roof. That wouldn't always be so pretty. Sometimes some houses have the same roof as the walls, but in Minecraft that just doesn't translate as well if you had a whole stone brick house. It might fit your standards, but if you're looking to get better at building, it probably doesn't. The first tip that could help you with your quest to get better is texture. If you throw in certain blocks that make your houses look better, then that can significantly increase the nicety of your build. So for stone brick example, let's say you're taking your stone brick house from earlier, you can just throw in some cracked or mossy stone brick blocks along with your normal stone bricks, and that could amplify it. And a more advanced way to mesh with stone bricks is if you grab stuff like normal stone or andesite or cobblestone. These blocks can make an incredible combination because stone and stone bricks and cobblestone all have the same shades of gray, and so does andesite. Andesite is a little bit shinier but can add that little bit of gradient to your builds. What is gradient, you might ask? Well, that's our next point. Gradient is a kind of way to get your texture across. This might not look very different from what we did earlier, but you can see we have this darker tough block mixed in with our stone. And then from stone, we go up to cobblestone, which is slightly lighter because there's more highlights on the block. And then you go to andesite, which we mentioned earlier, is a lighter kind of a highlight block, and this creates a nice gradient. This might not look too good, but this is only because I have such a small wall. If you had a bigger chunk of blocks to put this on, you could really make a difference. One channel I'll put at the end is B00. He is a Minecraft player who is really, really good at building and excels at teaching people gradients. I learned a lot from him. And another way to do gradients besides this kind of stone is color gradients. You can see that we go from this very bright lime all the way to this darker green, and this can be achieved from going one color to the next, not just one shade of green to another. You could go from red to purple with a certain gradient. There's just that many blocks in the game now these days, and as the game continues to get more updated, the gradient will get even smoother and smoother. You can even do a complete white to black gradient because of all these nice grayscale blocks we have these days, especially with caves and cliffs with all the deep slate, and 1.16 with its black stone, or World of Color with its concrete. Anyways, our next point is depth. One really basic way that you might already be transforming your builds is, let's say you just have a little simple wooden house, right? Well, instead of building a really flat wall like this, you can take those wooden pillars and move them out one block. That could help create depth in your build. Depth makes it not look very flat. I know that Minecraft is a game made of cubes, but you're not confined to just build with a cube. You can make circles, you can make trapezoids, or whatever. It's a 3D space. It's an infinite sandbox. Of course, you can make other shapes. So this is a really great way to add more depth. Really simple, really easy. It barely costs you any resources. The only resource it's going to cost you compared to normal is just however many more blocks replacing these that were going to be in the corner. And there's so many more different ways of adding depth, like this sign, or if I was to add some windows here, that would help with your depth. This wall right here, it doesn't have any extra depth, it just has a bit more of a gradient that I'd like to show off. I forgot to put it over there, and I just put it right here. One gradient method is you can transition from this kind of stone gray to this nice moss by going from your stone to cobblestone to mossy cobblestone to moss. This is a really nice and well transition that a lot of pro builders like B00 use to get more life and more color make it maybe look a bit more old or settled in or nice or detailed or textured, using stuff like that. Or if you're building a patch of copper, if you're making a copper wall, using this kind of transition can help bring your build together. Another builder, which I'll put at the end, who this video is actually inspired by, Grian, used a method where you have a copper wall or a copper roof or whatever that might be, but it kind of leads into chunks of this warped nether wart block. And it creates this really nice color texture. And there are so many different ways of adding gradients and depth and texture to your builds. So here's another example of depth. We have these plants, we have this little pathway divot with these buttons, we have our sign sill, we have more buttons, we have this nice support. This support can kind of help add more detail and depth. Detail is another essential thing, another essential tool builders use, because again, if you just put a wall of logs, that's not very detailed, nor does it look very nice. But if you have depth, and if you have your texture or your gradient, if that's something you're using, that helps add detail. It's what all of this is supposed to do. Of course I didn't, and then you can, for most of these floorings right here, you have even more texture in the floors, which I'm going to move on now. Again, detail and depth. With this kind of ruin, we have our depth because of these giant holes blown in the sides of the walls, and with these supports right here. And we have this burning kind of dead looking leaves campfire. I could have done more here, but I was kind of constricted on time. Another form of detail is that we're using these wall blocks to make it look like half broken or more shaped broken stones to add more detail and depth. Now our final thing is shape. Again, you're not constricted to build with squares or cubes, even though this is a game of square and cubes. For example, instead of just making this like all of the other walls where it's a flat stone wall with some pillars, I made it a textured, mossy boulder surrounded by some pillars with this nice stone path, these lanterns, and these windows made of fence gates. So you can open them up and have a breeze come through, or set your pie outside. You can have your chimney going, and I decorated it, but that's a story for a different day. Shape can help make your build more detailed, because if it's just a block, again, that's so boring. It might be what you're going for if you're going for geometric shapes, but this is a more of a natural and just integral part of building. You're gonna be using more natural shapes or more complex shapes in building more than you will basic shapes like squares or circles. And speaking of circles, I have a bonus tip for you that stayed till the end. How to build circles. Circles going to be a really hard thing to build in Minecraft, but once you figure it out, it's actually pretty easy. All you have to do is figure out the measurements. So right here, you can see we have 1, 3, 1. Well, what does that mean? Well, this line is 1 block. This line is 3 blocks. This line is 1 block. And you just have to copy that around. So this 1 is also this line's 1. So you have 1, 3, 1. 1, 3, 1. 3, 1. Or you can get more complicated with it. 1, 2, 3, 2. 1, 2, 3, 2. 1, 2, yada, yada, yada. Or you can get even more complicated with it. 2, 4, 5. 4, 2, 2, 4, 5. And unlike the other ones where you see how the end is 1 right here, but then the end of this line is also 1, you can also do it where the end of the lines connect up. So the end is 2. Well, that connects up with another 2. That might be a little complicated to understand, but it's pretty simple, really. I'm not calling you dumb if you don't get it. It can be a hard thing to understand, but 2, 2, 3, or 4, 5, 4, 2, 2. And you can do this with any shape. These aren't the only circles you can make. So for example, if I wanted to make one right now, we can go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 1, 2, 3. And we have our nice little circle right there. The reason that this one has these two connector bits while all the other ones just share this connector bit is because I typically like to use, if the connector bits is just one block long, it doesn't look very good if you do two 1 blocks. It can for a large enough circle, but in my personal opinion, it doesn't always look very good. Anyways, thank you for watching this video. This was inspired by Building Tips with Grian. Check out Grian's videos and BOO's videos here to see even more building tips and tricks. Press the like button if you want to see me do more building tutorials, like how to do certain decorations, how to design interiors, or just how to make your build not feel that empty. Anyways, that's all from me, Rocket Chicken, out. Bye!